Anyway, here I am with Timothy Gager. And Timothy Gager is the founder of the Dire Reader series that now is virtual and is very successful as it was before. He started the Dire Reader series in 2001. It's had everyone who's anyone in terms of writing and poetry in those years. We, both of us in 2003 to 2011, started the Summer News Writers Festival, where we had Pulitzer Prize winning authors as well as local authors. That was a great thing for both of us. He's the author of numerous collections of short stories, plays, and poems, many of which have been nominated or won prizes. His latest collection of poetry is Spreading Like Wildflowers. Now, Tim, you've had the Dire reading series for 18 years. Now it's virtual, very successful too. How did you birth this new project, this new incarnation of
Well, I retired the live version in 2018 because, it just was, it was 18 years of it and it was great. And I just thought that with the pandemic, I think people needed to do something to log into and get like a reading or to be entertained. And, it's not easy being home. And I think people are finding that. So I thought it was a good time to do it. And originally I started it out as just an open mic for people to gather. We did that for a couple weeks. And then I started to ask like one feature in, and, because of the contacts I made with the Somerville News Writers Festival and Mass Poetry and the Dire series, I've gotten to know and meet a lot of people. And I asked people to come in and, they've all done it and they've supported their indie local bookstores. And, it's just been really wonderful. And for a fan of authors and readers, it's great for me just to be able to sit back and, hear a reading myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I know your mother recently passed away from cancer. You are isolating because of COVID. I know you have a condition that's. I'm also experiencing. My wife who has cancer. I mean, so you've been through a lot. How has this sort of suffering or whatever, or mourning affected your work?
It's interesting how it ends up in my work. Like I sometimes, I'm not really necessarily going for, I'm going to write a sorrowful poem, or I'm going to write a poem about sickness, or I'm going to write a poem about this virus, or a poem about isolation. I've always been a very visual poet and a very poet and writer that's written on emotion. So if it happens to come to me, then it will come out in that direction. But I'm not necessarily looking for that. And if, for example, if I get an idea about a COVID poem, I might just disregard it. I don't want to be writing a whole lot about it. Much like, when I went through divorce, when I went through various things in my life, I didn't necessarily want that whole body of work for the next 2 or 3 months to be dominated by that. I wanted to keep my mind open and my creativity open. So I don't want to write a long series about a singular thing that might not be a really good thing. Might be a bad thing. Might be, I want to always keep my subject matter open.
Now, I did a blurb for your latest collection of poetry, Spreading Like Wildflowers, and I wrote that you are not, when we first did your first poetry book that you ever had out, actually, it was The Same Corner of the Bar, and I said that you were a drastically different poet now, and just as I think you said that about me. So maybe you could talk a bit about that.
Yeah, there's that whole adage of write what you know. And, I've been in recovery for 10 years. It's been great. And And, my life is wonderful now, but like, when I started writing, that wasn't the case. So I was writing a lot of things about struggling and not having much hope and kind of wishing that, my life was better without even knowing what the key for that improvement was. And the evolution that I have as a writer has included all of that. But you know what? I can always reach back into that closet sometimes. And if I want to write a bar poem, I can write a bar poem. Like that's always, you always have that experience and that feeling. But
I ask you, I've never asked you, how bad was your addiction? Or maybe you don't want to talk about it.
Enough to really make my life unmanageable. I mean, that's the best I can say without getting too specific. I mean,
Yeah.
I could talk about it for hours, but I reached the end of the rope for it, and I was just desperate enough to really want to do whatever it takes to stop, and I did.
Uh-huh. And some people say that drinking helps with creativity. Is that true or a falsehood?
It does, yes, and not drinking helps with creativity as well.
Okay. But it does loosen you up, right? Doesn't it?
It depends if you want to write loose.
Yeah.
I had a big fear when I stopped that I wouldn't be able to write, and that was of course totally unfounded. And when I realized that I could, the work just was better. It was tighter. It wasn't as cloudy. It was more organized. Of course, there are, no more nights that I'm writing 13,000 words in a blackout, but then again, how many of those words could I actually use?
That's true. That's true. I mean, there's also the myth about mental illness, the mad poet and how great that is, which we know is not the case. Yeah, what were you going to say?
Anytime you switch, yeah, I think anytime you switch like your brain around, whether it's through drugs or alcohol or meditation or hiking, what's going to come out in your work is going to be an influence of that. Your brain's a very, very fascinating little machine, and if you're going to abuse it, it's going to come out in your writing. And if you use it for other types of things, and you use it in a peaceful way, or you use it in a way that's just pure endorphins and joy, that's what comes out.
Mm-hmm. Now, tell us about the novel you're writing. I read that the man in it, the main character, is autistic. Have you had experience with autistic people? Are you on the autistic spectrum? I know I am because I'm obsessive. So I don't know. Why did you decide to write about this?
Okay, so throughout the novel's called Joe the Salamander, and throughout the novel, he's never diagnosed. We never mention that he is on the spectrum or he has autism. He sees a specialist. The character sees a specialist when he's a boy, and the mother gets the report and tears it up, and that's kind of all you need to know. So are we all on the spectrum? I think it's funny. I think everyone has the aspects of a spectrum. That's where, we reach this common ground. Any two people have common ground. So whether you're on the spectrum or not on the spectrum, I think there are aspects and characteristics of it that we all have, whether it's being obsessive about the day you do your laundry or the day you wash your car or the day you go food shopping. I mean, that's all minor types of stuff. And I think that people on the spectrum, they just have that, turbo version of that. And they also have the unfortunate part of it too, is they also have a lot of sensory stuff, which affects them and sometimes attacks them, which can be difficult. And I am not there. I've worked with a lot of people in my job that are in various stages of the full spectrum, neurodiverse to full-blown autism. And, I've learned a lot. And I was very, very careful with the novel to make it entertaining and funny without either taking advantage of the disability aspect or poke fun at it. And I tried really, really hard that even when I am poking fun at the character, I'm not poking fun of his disability. And I sent the manuscript to people that are diagnosed with, parents of, just to see if I hit the mark. Because, you know, I was worried. You know, anytime you're writing outside your own cultural experience, you want to make sure that you capture it in a way that's true. And
When was the novel released? It was.
It's not out yet.
Yeah. Okay.
It's out, and various agents are looking at it for the past couple of years, and I've been slow with it. Like, I decided to take a different route with it, and because of my basically, I mean, I put enough books, so there's no real rush to put this one out. And I know it's a good book, and I know I hit the mark with it. And it's sort of like I want something bigger and better for it. Not that the small press isn't big, but I'll maybe reach a better audience or a different audience, or, you know, a different wormhole, so to speak.
You know, speaking of great small presses, you and I and many others have been published by Big Table. Can you talk a bit about your relationship with them?
Yeah, Big Table is like, if I could pull a move that, you know, Bukowski and his publisher had, that, you know, you sign a contract and everything would come out of that publisher. I mean, I would consider that with Big Table in general. They're just, Robin Stratton is just a really, really solid person to work for. She loves books, and it's just great. And she really believes in the people she works with. And that's so important, to have someone in your corner. I always feel like Robin's in my corner.
Absolutely.
She's always saying things that are like, you know, inadvertently they're building my ego, but she just says things off the cuff that's just like, you know, I wish I could write that. I wish I would have written that poem. And it just makes me feel good to be involved in a small press that, you know, you just feel supported by.
Absolutely. Now, you know, I've had you teach at, you know, Bunker Hill and Endicott College, you know, lecture, and you seem to be a natural teacher. You have a great theatrical presence, delivery, good sense of humor, things that would engage the students. Are you ever plan to teach?
I mean,
When you're, yeah.
I would love to continue to teach workshops and do like partial teaching. I don't know, like, if I would really enjoy that. I don't know if when I retire, I'm ready to work another full-time type of gig like that and be able to do it without, I mean, I want to enjoy life before I get sick. I've seen a lot of sickness lately. I've seen a lot of sickness with this virus. I want to be able to, through the grace of God, to be able to retire in good health and then have a couple of years to do whatever I want. And, you know, that's really, really important to me. You know, the classic retire, because, you know, like, if I'm going to retire into quarantine, like, you know, it's, I can.
Well, you know, teaching is changing drastically now. I mean, I could tell you that it's not like it was. It's, you know, it's all online or hybrid, or, you know, it's a vastly different.
It will change back. I think that's become a successful element, and I think that what you're saying with a hybrid, I think that most colleges will be able to, because there's money in it, right? They will be able to have some sort of online classes. Now they kind of know how to do it. And it doesn't mean that they're looking to eliminate the classroom, but I think it's just an extra, I mean, when it's all said and done, it's just going to be an extra way to educate.
Well, Tim, if you have a passage or something, or a couple of poems you want to read, we certainly would welcome that.
Okay, I can read something from Spreading Like Wildflower. I've done a lot of writing during this pandemic, which is interesting for me because it's, so maybe I'll read a couple from the book. Here it is.
Available from Big Table, right? Right. Yeah.
And yes, that is correct. And through orders online from your favorite indie bookstores who are struggling through this, much like a lot of, you know, private small venues. The Can Tab's closed. I saw that. And it's like, you know, it's kind of sad to know that a lot of places that I've been to are closing, not necessarily because of, you know, they've done anything wrong. Just business is bad these, you know, right around now. So I will start with one called This Poem is Like a Brewer's. This poem is like a bruise, a deep black lake of superior knocking over the white caps, rolling into their last breaths. It's an angry purple from the rage of red until the flattening of color blends into the subdued yellow of surrender. If you're weak of mind, this poem is not a holiday. It does not twinkle, nor are its words lights from a city observed upon the descent, each a pinpush of hope. If you wait, there is a tiny ripple when a coin is flipped into a well. Hollow is the eye socket, dark and empty. I'll read one that appeared in Ibbotson last summer in the dark corner of a theater. Our hands touched, craved completeness of fingers, intertwined, growing limb-like vines, shielding old cracks of a brick wall. In April, the climbers stay sparse. May we forbid nature a minute longer. May we be offered blooms of ivy, so tender the cover, so gentle it grows. The heart is a broken little thing. After you bounced it off a wall, you noticed it didn't have feathers, it didn't fly, it didn't soar. It only thudded, leapt a bit, rolled and zigzagged, then stopped beating, died on the ground. Removed from the host, the heart is unlasting. Now it is free. And I was talking a little bit earlier about reaching back and being able to write a ballroom poem. And so this was a ballroom poem that I wrote, but it also reflects kind of where I am now in the metaphor. Finding the beauty. In a bar, 2 seats are taking out of every 3, coats in between each, 1 open stool for only silence. Between the couple next to me tonight, she turned, saw her lips soft and filled like the old pillow I sunk my head into 15 years ago. I would have written a poem in my head while I drove home. Tonight, it got up and left. Let's see if I can read a new one or so. And I'm trying a lot of new things with my poems. When you're around poets and other poems, it's always a challenge to write in a different way. Ocean Hotel. Outside a window, the ocean laps over rocks, laps over rocks, laps over rocks. The foam in the mixer, a quick plop resonates, followed by a fierce, violent smack into the wall where a seagull sits over the sounds, almost staged. She is unmoved, a witness to all of this. The sun is opened early today at 6 a.m. My eyes didn't catch much, my eyelids inching up like water rising outside a window. The ocean laps over rocks, laps over rocks, laps over rocks.
I like the rhythm there.
Thank you. Rosebud Winter.
Yeah, no, wait a minute. That brings up Citizen Kane. Is that?
Yeah, it's part of that.
Yeah, okay.
Late snowflakes on the Sangre de Cristo are confetti twirls in a tube. The sprinkle erupts, builds blankets of white, frosting over emerald, never less green, not everlasting than springtime's coming. When her flowers are tricked, buried too soon, they will not wait for water to trickle down from her peak. And let me read one more.
Okay.
If I can find it here. Spin the bottle. Bottle spins, it will land somewhere on love. It lands on drink. Then I might lose the handle on that one. Make it swirl better. The size and shape might be impossible. It's a large problem and I am just not strong. It's very heavy to spin it again. I just want to make out, no matter how it turns, Points to me again, the liquid in the light looks like diamonds, reflecting green, yellow, red, spiraling conclusion. So beautiful when lit, pick me, until the last ugly one releases with an evil twist. Don't pick me, say quivering lips of those in the game, not permitted to stop it.
Well, thank you very much, Timothy. This is going to be broadcast on Somerville Media and on YouTube. So as soon as I get it recorded and all that. So thank you. Thank you for joining me.
I appreciate you. And you've been doing, how long have you been doing poet to poet, writer to writer, Doug, now?
Since 2003, I believe.
That's great. And I love going back and looking at the old sets and the new sets. And now you have the Zoom set, and you know, it's
you remember that? Remember that that incident in one of our interviews where a guy said, well, maybe we shouldn't say that. It's on.
Yeah. You know, he Zoom bombed the old TV show before Zoom was
yeah. Yeah, it was quite funny, actually.
It's a good story. Maybe someone will catch up with us live that, the FCC won't object
to
it.
Anyway, thank you, Tim. And go to Tim's Dire Reader series every Friday at what time?
It's at 7 p.m. And if you'd like an invite, I put the link up. It's in a Facebook group called Virtual Fridays Dire Literary Series. And, we have various features coming up. We have Kim Chinqui, Jessica Keener, and in the fall, we'll have Marge Piercy. So please check it out. It's every Friday now. And
I know you asked me a while ago, but I couldn't do it because of what was going on. But if you ever have the inkling, I'd love to read from my new book.
I would love to have you, Doug. Have sometime in August.
Whenever it's convenient for you. Yeah.
Whenever it's convenient for you.
All right, I'll email you. Thank you very much, Tim. I'm gonna head out now.